What's up, kids? David here, Journalistic State, man. So what I got going on in this video is some serious randomness. You know, not that my other videos aren't random, but this is particularly random in terms of the subject matter at hand. Is not something that is congruent with what I've done in the past. I would like to talk a little bit about this book that I read last summer. What is that movie called? I Know What You Did Last Summer, or something like that. Slasher film. So, this is called The Gangs of New York. Written by Herbert Asbury. The Gangs of New York. An Informal History of the Underworld. So, this was written in 1929, I think. Let me flip through here. See if I can confirm when this book was written. Yeah, I think it was written in 1929. And basically, it is the history of gangs in New York from the inception of New York as a town, you know, however it got on its feet. You know, a couple of wooden shacks in a swamp. And how it grew from there. So we're talking like 1700s into the 1800s. It's sort of this history, but it was written in 1929. And that's kind of why I would like to comment on it. This book was written many 70 years after the fact. 100 years. 150 years after the fact. And it was based on newspaper articles from the day. So what he would do is he would go back and he would research newspaper articles and piece together a narrative that, if you will, is a deep dive into the lives of these people that constituted these gang members, these colorful even characters, these animated characters that were these gang members in New York for like 150 years of time. And what is so amazing about it is that what you have in this book is you have, in some instances, what is a minute-by-minute account of events. There was some riots that took place, multiple riots. But in many instances, he was able to piece together a minute-by-minute account of the riots that took place in the 1840s, in the 1850s. Think of it, if you will, the work of the reporters who would arrive at a scene with a pen and paper in hand, noir style of investigation, you know, the investigative reporter arriving on the scene of a riot and interviewing people, questioning people, figuring out who is who and what is what and what went down. The factual material that is unpackaged herein is breathtaking. It is breathtaking, the scope and the depth of the facts that are captured by the reporters of the day. It is almost intense to read. It is almost overwhelming, the amount of information that you are pummeled with on the pages, man. Page after page, the amount of information that you are pummeled with, the facts. And you know, the guy doesn't really take sides. It is without political affiliation. It is without partisanship. If you can believe that, can you imagine that such a thing once existed, that a reporter would not assign his personal bias to the events, would not report his personal bias, but rather spend time discovering, spend time articulating for the reader the facts of the events as they took place. Freaking believable, dude. It is that is really what I took away from this book. It is amazing, man, the craftsmanship, the artisanship of reporters back in the day who took their job seriously, who took their role as historians even seriously, so much so that this guy many years later, 100 years later, Herbert Asbury, The Gangs of New York, An Informal History of the Underworld, that many 100 years later he could take this source material and craft, in many instances, a minute-by-minute account of what went down. It is stunning. That's the first thing I'd like to say. The second thing I'd like to say is, man, subscribe to my channel. Yo, give me some subscription, because, otherwise, YouTube couldn't give two frickin' mites, dude, for me, dude. They don't care about my frickin' channel. If you don't care about my channel, if you're not interested in my content, if you don't like or subscribe, or at least comment, don't even subscribe to me, just frickin' comment below, man. Comment below, be part of the conversation. So the third thing I'd like to say is that, man, the streets in New York would get hectic. Frickin' hectic. The violence is impressive. An impressive level of frickin' thug life violence, man. It's shameful, really, the wretched lives that people would lead. Something of note as I close here is that, interestingly enough, as regards the Batman comic series, one would imagine that the lore of the Batman world was sort of almost, I wonder if it wasn't born from this book, because the gang leaders were all colorful personalities, not unlike the villains in the Batman comics. And even one of the places of infamy in New York in the 1800s was this part of town that was called Gotham Court, I think. And it's just interesting, some of the echoes that are seen in the history that seem to have found their footing in the comic books, the Batman comics. The whole aspect of Gotham, of course, is supposed to be synonymous with New York. The types of criminals, man, that are unpackaged in the gangs of New York are interesting seeming correlations with the comics. Anyway, man, I think it's an interesting read. I think it's a sad comment on the state of our culture today. I think it is a sad comment on the opinion politics of those people that are supposed to be journalists. Those things that are supposed to be the meat and potatoes of the news feed on a nightly basis. It is a sad thing indeed. The poverty, the intellectual poverty of the modern age is as well stunning. Alright, man, God bless. Like and subscribe to my freaking channel. Take care. See you guys next time.